All right, so Matt, why don't mummies like to go on vacation?
Why do mummies not like to go on vacation? I don't know.
They're too afraid to unwind. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the graveyard. Thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Adam.
And my name's Matt.
Now, pull up a tombstone or settle into your casket and get comfortable because this is Graveyard Tales. All right, everybody, here we are again. Matt, how you doing tonight, brother?
Hey, I'm good. What do you think? I've upgraded the Graveyard East.
Yeah, I like it.
You know,
I like it.
We got new lighting, front and some back eerie green lighting.
It works for the season, man. I dig it.
I'm telling you. I think it looks fantastic. This is the first time I've actually seen it on camera.
Yeah.
So I think it looks really good.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Amanda did a great job building my wall, and now I've got some eerie green behind it. I've got a place to hang our pulp horror poster.
Pick you up one of those if you want.
It looks really good for all. Yeah, hey, if you want to take a look at it, you want to see what the Graveyard East looks like now. All you have to do is subscribe and become a patron.
$10 patron.
$10 a month, and you get to see how the sausage is made.
Right.
You get to watch Adam and I do the show uncut. You get to see all of our mistakes, all of our flubs. You get to see all the retakes.
The only thing I ever really cut out on those is like if we have a coughing fit or something that I'm like, that's not even interesting. People don't want to see that.
Or I have to kill a wasp.
Yeah. Well, hell, I usually leave that in.
Keep that stuff in.
Yeah. But yeah, like Matt was saying, if you haven't become a patron yet, go over to patreon.com and search Graveyard Tales and you can find us. And we've got 3 different tiers right now. That's $1, $5, and $10 tiers. And for a $1 patron, you get some audio only bonus episodes. $5 patron, you get some stickers and you get audio bonus episodes. And then at $10, you get a sticker pack, you get audio bonus episodes, and you get to see the video of the bonus episodes plus the video of us recording each main episode. So it's the $10 you actually get quite a bit more for if you can afford it. But you get all the audio versions of it at $5 if you can't afford $10. So go over there and sign up and help us out if you feel like it. If you can't, we understand. But if you do, we appreciate it very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Whatever level you join, trust me, that money is going to good use to do kind of stuff like this, to upgrade the studio a little bit so that the videos look better, to upgrade our recording equipment. And
to be able to do live streams for you guys.
Live streams. Yeah, live streams. Coronavirus has kept us all in, but we still want to do something live for you guys.
Adapt and overcome.
That's right. And so your donations to the show help us get the software that we need to be able to do that and do it well.
Right. Right.
So thank you everybody for donating to the show. And if you've been thinking about it and just hadn't pulled the trigger, go for it. I mean, just see what it's like for a month. You get to look at our ugly mugs talking, so give it a shot. Right.
And speaking of live streams, we've got a live stream coming up on the 30th of this month, October 30th. So keep an eye on our Facebook page. That's where we will be posting information about it. And that's where the live stream will actually go up, is on our Facebook page. So you got to go over there and like and follow our Facebook page in order to get notified when we do a live stream. So go over there and do that And what we're planning on doing is, we're going to take the live streaming into our own hands, essentially, because if, as some of y'all remember, we tried doing an outlet at the beginning of the year, pre-coronavirus, and it just wasn't working for Matt and I. We didn't dig it as much as we thought.
Yeah.
And it was a paid thing. You had to buy the ticket to get in. So we're going to be doing these Facebook live streams, which are free for you guys initially to see. And, it's going to be just me and Matt doing it, not going to have any other company involved. So like Matt was saying, your donations help with that tremendously. Another thing, go check out Podbelly Network at podbelly.com if you're interested in finding ways to record your own shows, some little helpful tips, something like that, and to find other shows that you may not run across normally. We want to thank tonight's sponsor, Best Fiends. We'll talk a little bit more about them later. We are going to be dark next week, but have no fear. We're supposed to have 2 dark weeks in a row, but as you know, Matt and I don't like doing that. So we will be back with another episode on the 30th, and it'll be an ad-free show for you guys, so there'll be no ads during that one. And before we get into tonight's topic, Matt, did you see where we just got done with our cattle mutilations episode, right? They have just confirmed at least 2 more cattle mutilations in Oregon. So they put out a thing on Coast to Coast. Just today, I got the email about it, actually, because I'm on the Coast to Coast emailing deal. And they said there's actually 2 more cattle mutilations that have been confirmed because once the first one, the most recent one, was confirmed as a cattle mutilation, they started going back and looking at deaths of cattle in the area. And they actually prove that 2 other ones were of the same mutilation standards of it. They lost their genitalia and their tongues and their eyeballs. So they've now said we consider at least 3 recent this year new cattle mutilations. So wow. I thought that was pretty interesting.
You sent me that link this afternoon, and I didn't have a chance to look at it before we came on. But man, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I'll put the link to that article in our show notes if you want to go down there. It'll be with all of our other sources for tonight's episode. So, Matt, speaking of sources, and everybody can go down in our show notes and find our sources to follow along to what we're talking about, see where we got all the information, and to keep going. But what is the information that we're going to be going over tonight, Matt?
All right. Tonight, we're going to talk about I don't think we've done a place like this, have we?
Well, like this, we haven't...
A structure.
No, we have not done a structure like this.
We have not done a structure like this. We're doing haunted structures tonight.
Yeah. And we got a haunted cube, a haunted triangle.
Yeah. Tonight, Adam and I are going to look into the haunted activity going on at the St. Augustine Lighthouse in Florida.
Yep.
And as we said, we haven't done a lighthouse, and I think I've heard of other haunted lighthouses. But this one is one of the oldest and one of the most active. And I told Adam before we started, I said, this is one of these where the activity far outweighs the history as far as information to consume,
right, and
learn about. A lot of times when we talk about other places, there's some strange bloody history, it's long and involved, and so many people owned it and families died there and all this kind of stuff. That's not necessarily the case with the St. Augustine Lighthouse, but yet there's a plethora. How about that for a $5 word?
I like that. And I'm glad you didn't pronounce it plethora. I hate when people say plethora.
Plethora sounds dirty.
It does. But, you saying plethora, it means a lot.
I'm not going to go there. Family show. Anyway. Yeah. So, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of activity here. But, it's always good to kind of know the history to give you an idea of why this place might be haunted. And so Adam's going to dig into the history of the St. Augustine Lighthouse.
Right. And, if you look at the, St. Augustine Lighthouse Information Center and you go off what they've got a lot of stuff that really doesn't help us at all in our investigation.
Got a lot of stuff about lighthouses.
Yeah, I mean, lighthouses and maritime stuff. But I mean, it's all interesting, but it's one of those things that, I had to call through quite a bit of it to make sure we got stuff that pertained to the spirits that are potentially at the lighthouse and the reasoning for, maybe the energy that kept the spirits there and all that. So we're going to go through it. And if you start getting bored, I'm sorry, but that, it's history time, guys. And that's what we do here. You guys know that. We do the history of the places. We like doing it. So just hang with us. Now, this little bit actually comes from Encyclopedia Britannica, and it says that St. Augustine is the oldest continuously settled city in the United States. It's the seat of St. Johns County, northeastern Florida, about 40 miles southeast of Jacksonville. It is situated on a peninsula between two saltwater rivers, the San Sebastian on the west and the Matanzas on the east. And on the mainland west of South Sebastian, just inland from the Atlantic coast on the Intercoastal Waterway. So the St. Augustine Lighthouse actually is located at 100 Red Cox Road, St. Augustine, Florida. If you're interested in going to visit, if you live close to that, or you just happen to be out that way sometime, and check it out. It's on the east side of Florida. Anytime Ashley and Michael and I go down there, we go to the west side on the Panhandle there. We don't go over to the touristy side. To the Gulf. Yeah. We're on the Gulf side, not the ocean side. So
right.
But like Matt said, the lighthouse here is like super old. It's really old. It's one of the oldest structures we've talked about in the United States. And it has been around this same general area for many years. And you're like, same general area? What do you mean? I'll explain.
Yeah, I didn't know lighthouses got up and walked away.
Yeah, I mean, when they feel that the area isn't, it's getting a little overcrowded and it isn't quite as rural as they thought, they can actually move themselves to a more, no, that's a lie. I'll explain it. So let's take a look at a little bit of the history that I got from the St. Augustine Lighthouse Information Center. Let's go all the way back to 1589. Now, in 1589, Italian cartographer Giovanni Battista published his map of the raid of Sir Francis Drake on St. Augustine 3 years earlier. Now, the map is the first documented archival reference of a wooden watchtower at the end of Anastasia Island. So the watchtower was erected by the Spanish crown during the building of Castillo del San Marcos to keep enemy ships from taking Anastasia Island. The watchtower at the north end of the island eventually became the St. Augustine Lighthouse, and the one at the sound end actually became Fort Matanzas National Monument. So since 1589, they've had some sort of thing there, which is crazy old.
Yeah, it is.
It's way older than me, Matt, which is wild, right. And I'm old.
It's a little older than me. But I mean, when you think about a lighthouse, and that traditional stairwell that goes up into a lighthouse, and then halfway up, somebody goes, "Hey, this has been here for about 300 some odd years." I'm like, why am I walking up it?
Yeah, exactly. You said it was safe. I don't feel like it's safe.
I want it to be built like last week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's safer, and there's less potential of a ghost pushing me down the stairs if it was built last week.
Yeah, that's another. It's a long drop to the bottom.
No joke. So let's jump to 1737. Now, by 1737, the Spanish replaced earlier construction with a new 30-foot watchtower made of shell rock and wood. A canoe was kept at the Centinela for helping those stationed there to warn the town of approaching vessels. A spar with halyards was raised to signal the direction from which ships traveled. Ships coming from the north might signal an enemy arrival. So, they're still using it as a watchtower / lighthouse, but it's mainly a watchtower for enemy ships. All right, now the French and Indian War, or the 7 Years' War, finally ended about 1763, and the British and her American colonies had defeated the combined forces of Spain and France. So Florida was ceded to Great Britain and divided into East and West Florida. The new protectorates, including new Canadian territories, were added to the British Empire in alphabetical order, making Florida East and Florida West the 14th and 15th British colonies in North America. Now, the capital of East Florida was St. Augustine, a town of 500 homes. Spanish residents left for Cuba, taking everything, even the nails in the wood, and the British arrived at an empty town. However, they set about the task of stimulating trade and settlement. Grants of land were offered to those who were willing to settle in Florida within 10 years. So in 1780, a plan of the harbor of St. Augustine, province of Georgia, by J.F.W. de Bars, Esquire, in the Atlantic Neptune, lists the words lighthouse on Anastasia Island. And so that's where we see one of the newer, terms. It's not a watchtower anymore. It's now a lighthouse. Well, on the night of New Year's Eve, 1782, some 16 ships wrecked during a nor'easter while attempting to enter the harbor. The ships were a few of the hundreds used by the British to evacuate Charlestown, or Charleston, South Carolina, on December 14th, 1781. And no, I didn't mispronounce Charleston, South Carolina. It is actually Charlestown was the original name of South Carolina. So don't at me, bro.
don't at me, bro.
Don't at me, bro, as the cool kids say. It was Charlestown, South Carolina. Matt, I promise I will never say that again. I feel gross saying the phrase, don't at me, bro. So I apologize to everyone who had to hear that. Where was I? So following the evacuation of its colonies to the north, the population of British St. Augustine swelled to about 30,000 people, about the same size as Philadelphia during the day. Thousands of Native Americans also came and camped outside the city gates seeking British protection. Now, Governor Patrick Taunton struggled to feed and protect everyone, and he eventually closed out all British interests south of New York. Florida was ceded back to the Spanish in the 1783 Treaty of Paris. St. Augustine was once again a military outpost on the fringe of Spain's colonies. The Spanish quickly tore down the British wooden construction that was on top of the old watchtower and then refortified it with more seashells like they did before. Now, if the tower was used as a lighthouse by the British, it may have returned to use as a watchtower under the Spanish system. So it seems like every time the Spanish take over, it becomes a watchtower, and when the British took over, it was a lighthouse. So it switched back and forth between its duties over the years.
Well, isn't that weird? What, the British they don't need watchtowers? They're not looking for enemies.
I guess not.
hey, the shore's right here. We're going to light it up for you.
Yeah, pretty much. Hey, we'll put a beacon on the shore, and then we'll be surprised when people find us,
Spanish says, quit doing that.
Yeah, right. Quit lighting up the shore.
Turn that light off. Put some soldiers up there and tell us what's coming.
Yeah, exactly. But, that's one thing to keep in mind when we talk about the hauntings at the lighthouse. Watchtowers are usually used, for wars and stuff like that. And as we've talked, wars bring a negative energy that seems to permeate the soil around everything. So, that's kind of why we're touching on this, is just to let you know what it's been used for and why. In 1806, 42 ships called at the port of St. Augustine, 37 from the United States and 5 from Havana. Now, business transports were small, shallow draft goleta, schooners, and balandras. And now, cargoes included barrels of flour, line for ship's rigging, sweets, soap, Madeira wine, and a customary amount of beer. So it was being used heavily for trade during this time. So there were people in and out of this area all the time. So let's jump all the way to 1822. Now, originally lit with a system of Winslow Lewis argon lamps and reflector panels, the light from lighthouses in America was harder to see from ships than similar lighthouse beams that shone along the coast of Europe. So a French engineer by the name of Jean-Augustin Fresnel perfected the Fresnel lens by 1822. This changed modern optics forever. Nevertheless, the U.S. Treasury was slow to adopt this improved system because of the expense of changing out the lenses. Instead, the Light Tower of St. Augustine was raised another 10 feet in 1852 in an effort to improve visibility. So they said, it's way too expensive to change the lights. Let's just spend the money and make it taller, which doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. How in the world is that cheaper?
I don't know.
We're gonna make this thing 10 feet taller.
Yeah,
and that's
instead
cheaper
of just buying
than
some new
changing out
lenses.
a lens.
Yeah,
maybe that gives you an idea of how much these lenses cost.
Yep, perhaps.
We're talking about the 1820s through the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
They're producing the Fresnel lens.
Right.
It couldn't have been easy.
No. Well, I'll tell you this, Matt. That raising it 10 feet thing only lasted about a year, because by 1853, St. Augustine Tower held a new fourth-ordered Fresnel lens. So this was a single lard oil lamp fueled by whale oil that was used for light. So they were like, okay, we raised it 10 feet. That didn't work. Let's just spend the money and get the lens. Or if they'd have done it in the first place, they wouldn't have spent the money to raise it either.
Fresnel, they're like Apple. We're going to get you eventually.
Yeah, no joke.
Yeah, go ahead. Raise it up 10 more feet.
Yeah.
We'll see you next year.
Right. Sure. Keep your old iPhone. Yeah, it'll work just fine.
Would you buy the Fresnel 4G lens, which is going to be $1,000 more than the one you could have had?
Yep. Exactly. Well,
yeah, still got you.
Yeah, and that's what happened. They just a year after the 10-foot raise, they decided, oh well, let's go ahead and get the Fresnel lens.
Yeah, this stupid lens we have is terrible. We could raise it 100 feet more, and it wouldn't do any good. Right,
and that's probably what happened. They raised it and were like, yeah, this didn't do anything. Now, during the American Civil War, 1861 to 1865, Confederate sympathizers living in St. Augustine removed and hid the lens and clockwork mechanisms in order to block Union shipping. Now, the Union Navy steamed into the harbor on gunboats and took over St. Augustine peacefully. After jailing the future St. Augustine mayor, Paul Arnault, on a prison ship, the whereabouts of the clockworks and lens were revealed. So
yeah, because they didn't go up there and bust it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, whoa. That's one of those 4G Fresnel lenses.
Yeah, right. You got to save that thing. Take it. Go hide it. We can use it later. At least they were smart enough for that. I mean,
we could burn the hell out of some ants with this thing.
Right? Maybe even some pterodactyls. Because pterodactyls around during the Civil War. That was the joke.
Yeah. Did you see all that?
Yeah, we did an episode on Thunderbirds. They had pterodactyls around then.
Yeah, the snallygaster.
Right.
Floating around out there in Florida,
Yep. Well, the victorious American government at that point relit the beacon in 1867. However, as the sea level was rising, it would not be long before the new St. Augustine Light Station would be required. So now, quote, professional lighthouse keepers would be transferred from northern states to replace those Confederate sympathizers running the port before. Now, like we said, the sea level was rising. So it soon became evident that this first St. Augustine Lighthouse Tower was doomed to fall into the ocean. Well, the U.S. Congress appropriated $100,000 funding for a new lighthouse during the Florida Reconstruction period. The U.S. Lighthouse Service began construction on a new 165-foot tower in 1871 and did not finish until 1874. So that's why it's moved all around. And we said it's the same general area, but not that exact area. They, the raising sea levels there at the time in the 1800s made them go, this isn't going to work right here. It's too close to the shore. So they moved it back. Now, on October 15th, 1874, lighthouse keeper William R. Russell lit the oil lamp inside the new first order Fresnel lens for the first time. He most likely walked to the tower from his residence at the old St. Augustine Light Station, upon which the sea was rapidly encroaching. The lenses are 9 feet tall, and Russell would have had to climb inside it to light the lamps.
9 feet tall.
9 foot tall lens, yeah.
And you
gotta climb in it to do it. Now, they say the jewel-like lens was handmade just for St. Augustine in Paris by the company of Sauter and Lemonnier. It represented the height of Victorian engineering and technology and cast its beam much farther out to sea than its predecessor. The new light now demonstrated 3 fixed flashes from 3 bullseye panels that could be seen from up to 19 to 24 nautical miles depending on atmospheric conditions. Now, all of this, 19 to 24 nautical miles, was fueled by oil and then kerosene before electricity came to the light station. So all of that just from, whale oil and kerosene.
Yeah, that's impressive.
It is impressive. Now, on February 28, 1889, the St. Augustine Weekly News described the lens in this way. Quote, the lamp was a brass cylinder of 10 gallons capacity. Inside, it has a heavy weight which governs the flow of oil to the burner. The burner has 5 wicks in concentric circles. A chimney leads to the roof. It has a damper which regulates the flame. The globe is a huge case of glass which revolves around the lamp every 9 minutes. It makes a flash every 3 minutes when a big bullseye lines up between the lamp and the human eye. The cage weighs 2 tons.
Man.
So, yeah, it's a big thing, and they described it pretty succinctly there. But let's jump from 1889 to the 1940s. Let's take a big jump. To pass up a whole lot of information we don't need. So a coastal lookout building was constructed at the St. Augustine Light Station in late 1941 and early 1942 after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in December of 1941. However, life had not changed dramatically on the East Coast. Americans still felt a sense of separation from the war. Well, the sinking of the SS Gulf America off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida in April 1942 changed that feeling. This says, candle power in the lighthouse was reduced. Blackout curtains were required in every home, and cars drove without headlights because the war was close by. Now, U-boat 123, and I cannot pronounce this name, the captain was on his second patrol to the Americas. The mission was to interrupt British supply lines and demoralize everyday citizens. On his first journey, he sailed into the harbor of New York City and looked out at the American shoreline. Now, Captain Hartigan prowled the St. Johns County and Duval County coast before finding a target for his torpedoes. He mentioned, quote, the slender lighthouse in his logbook and noted how clearly the coast could be seen without binoculars. The explosion of the SS Gulf America could be seen for miles. Eyewitnesses rushed to the beach to watch as Hartigan surfaced his U-boat between the tanker and the shore and fired on the vessel to finish it off. Despite being hit by the depth charges, U-123 managed to escape and limped back to Germany. So, again,
man, that's a long limp. Dude.
That's a lot, man. Yeah. I can't limp upstairs some nights. I would hate to limp to Germany. Now, that just kind of, again, shows there was war happening in that area along, near St. Augustine and the lighthouse. So in 1980, a suspicious fire gutted the vacated keeper's house, which had been declared excess by the government. St. Johns County was about to purchase the property, and condominiums were discussed as one possibility for best use of the land. As bulldozers threatened, in stepped the Junior Service League with a will to restore the property and open a maritime museum. So the site was added to the National Register of Historic Places. Over the next 15 years, the Junior Service League would dig in hands-on and raise over $1.2 million to restore the Keeper's House, the Lighthouse Tower, and the original Fresnel Lens. The lens had been shot by a vandal's bullet, damaging 19 prisms in the beehive structure. What a jerk.
Yeah.
So the U.S. Coast Guard shut down the lens in 1991 and replaced it with a modern airport beacon, but the League quickly rose to this challenge. The Keeper's House restoration was finished in 1990, and in 1991, the League signed a lease with the U.S. Coast Guard and opened part-time to the public. In 1993, the Junior Service League of St. Augustine held the first community day with a lens relighting and fireworks. Now, this project was publicized as the first restoration of a Fresnel lens in the United States, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
A maritime museum opened full-time in early 1994. What is today the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum Incorporated, separately incorporated from the League in 1998. So, as we've said, all that information is in our show notes. Go down to the bottom of our show notes and hit the sources. You can find all the stuff that I skipped in there if you want to dig in more into the Maritime Museum, and they've got maritime archaeology and all that kind of stuff. So it is pretty cool. It just doesn't pertain to what we're talking about tonight. But go check it out in our show notes when you're done. You can see what we just talked about plus more. So Matt, let's move to what you got, and let's pull it out of this history hole here.
Yeah, we got some serious history and a lot of talk about Fresnel lenses, which I think we should replace Adam's glasses with Fresnel lenses.
Wouldn't that be fun? I could have beacons like shooting out of my eyes.
You see like 19 of everything, feel like a fly.
That would make me like nauseous and dizzy. Like,
can you imagine?
Try to edit audio with that.
But, like I said at the top of the show, typically when Adam and I look into a haunted place, we find one or two spirits that have been given a name, or the paranormal activity is attributed to a specific person associated with the location. Right. Now, personally, I feel like it's a bonus when a location has embraced their haunted history enough to refer to their spirits by name. Not all places go to that much effort. But the St. Augustine Lighthouse has more than its fair share of named spirits. So why? Why so active? Adam just gave you
because
the history
Florida.
of this place. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's weird. Florida man.
Yeah, right. Florida man haunts lighthouse in his underwear.
But it's like we said, a lighthouse doesn't necessarily fit into the category like a haunted hospital or prison or old battlefields or castles with hidden dungeons where people, were brutally tortured. I mean, it's a friggin' lighthouse.
Right.
Despite that, the St. Augustine Lighthouse has definitely seen tragedy and death, but maybe it's because lighthouses are guideposts and they lead souls to safety. Perhaps all the souls that they guide aren't among the living.
That's a very good point.
I mean,
we look at things in liminal spaces, in between spaces. There's other attractants to spirits because not everywhere that has hauntings is some in between space. So I think your idea is pretty spot on. It's a beacon, a literal beacon that guides people. So it could continue guiding even after death.
Yeah, and I couldn't come up with an idea as to because it's not the only one. It's probably one of the most famous haunted lighthouses, but other ones have had paranormal activity. But why? I mean, what would be so special about it? And that's that was kind of me spitballing some ideas. I'm like, well, okay. We've talked about in-between spaces, and transitional spaces are, keys for finding, evidence of spirit activity. So why not this? Why not something that, like Adam said, it's a beacon, it's a guidepost. But even though the history of the lighthouse may not be as dramatic as some of the other places we've discussed, it does have one legend attributed to it. As the story goes, St. Augustine was frequently visited by pirates in their heyday. And on one occasion, 13 pirates were captured, and they were tried in a little speedy, quickie trial,
quote unquote trial.
You're a pirate. Yeah. Hey, it's a pirate. You're guilty of piracy. Yeah. That's it.
They just throw a white wig on some schmuck and tell him to just hammer the gavel a couple times. And
Exactly. And these guys weren't the Pirates of the Caribbean. It's not Johnny Depp.
Right.
Being all suave and everything and funny. No, I mean, these guys were bad people.
Do you think they talked with an English accent like all other pirates seem to do?
Perhaps, with a little cockney in it.
Yeah. Yar, you got me leg. Give it back.
Yeah, I mean, these guys like Blackbeard. I mean, I think television and movies and novels have romanticized pirates, but these were not friendly chaps.
No.
But the legend says they were all hanged and buried in a shallow grave behind the lighthouse.
Think about the number too.
Yeah, 13.
The number of them. If you're into numerology or unlucky numbers and stuff. Now 13 is my lucky number, but whatever.
Everybody says that when they're trying to be cool or something. 13 is my unlucky number.
13. I got 13 skulls on my tattoo over here. I got married on the 13th. Our show started on October 13th. I think it's my lucky, lucky number.
I think it is your lucky number.
I'm not just trying to be cool, damn it.
Man, I didn't realize all that. But none of the spirits we're going to talk about tonight are considered to be any of the dead pirates.
That's weird.
Because it's just a legend. I mean, there's it's just a legend. But in fact, it's quite the opposite of the spirits that we're going to discuss. Now, as Adam said, the St. Augustine Lighthouse was originally built in 1824, and it was owned by Dr. Allen Ballard. Now, he was forced to sell it to the government in 1865 because it was thought the ocean would eventually swallow it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, after the Civil War, Florida's funds were depleted, and they offered to buy it for substantially less than it was worth. Ballard refused and said, "Nah, I'm just going to hang on to it." So the government threatened to take it via eminent domain and give him nothing. Like, you can take this or you can get nothing and we will still own it.
That's just wrong.
So Ballard got pretty upset, and he vowed that he would never leave the lighthouse. Now, nobody's really sure exactly what happened to Dr. Ballard, but some people believe
Government killed him.
that he did not leave.
Yeah.
and a lot of people believe that his spirit can still be seen and felt at the lighthouse.
That's cool.
Okay, Adam, I think everybody likes to take some of the topics we talk about on the show and go and do that deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
On Wikipedia, finding out more about the topics that we talk about. But when you get to that point where your brain is just full to the brim of ghosts and cryptids and paranormal activity, sometimes you just need that mental palate cleanser.
Oh, yeah.
And, that's when I like to play Best Fiends. Best Fiends is a casual mobile puzzle game that you can just forget all that stress and crap and stuff that you've learned and say, hey, I can just sit down with these bright and colorful bugs and go take out some slugs.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it's so much fun, and there's so many levels, and they just keep updating and updating. And Amanda and I, we really dig it. Now, she is way better than I am.
Oh, yeah, way better than me, too.
But I get on these levels where I can't get past, and I must admit I'm guilty of just handing her my phone and saying, beat this level for me, please.
Yeah, I do that to Ashley all the time. If we're sitting there playing, I'm like, are you done with your level so you can now beat my level for me, please? Because she's way better than me, and I don't know if that says something about our intellect or not, but, these levels are great, and like Matt said, they're always changing levels and updating levels, so you never have to worry about, oh, I'm gonna beat this game soon. You're not gonna beat this game. There are always new levels being added, and it's a free to download game, and it literally has millions of 5-star reviews on Apple App Store and Google Play. So you can go download Best Fiends for free today. Like we said, on the Apple App Store and Google Play, wherever you get your apps. And remember, that's friends without the R, Best Fiends.
Yeah, that's right. Go and download Best Fiends free today on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's friends without the R, Best Fiends. Now, one of the lighthouse's first keepers was a man named Peter Rasmussen. Now, he was known for his eye for detail and his watchful manner of maintaining the lighthouse. But he was also known for his love of cigars, and it's one of the first ghosts that people report coming into contact with. Now, over the years, the smell of Peter's cigar has been detected by many, including staff members and guests, and according to staff, this happens several times a week. So this is
He's
one
busy.
of those. Yeah, this is one of those disturbances when you hear of something that, it happens quite often. Well, give me an estimate. Oh, I don't know, maybe a dozen times a year. Well, that's great. That's a lot normally.
Mm-hmm.
This happens several times a week.
Yeah.
That's extraordinarily frequent.
Yes, it is.
For any kind of paranormal activity. Now, others have seen and heard another keeper, Joseph Andrew. Now, Joseph's spirit is typically seen at the top of the tower. But I mean, he's been dead for over 100 years. But his presence at the lighthouse could be explained by the fact that he fell to his death while he was painting the outside of the tower. Now, his death was so sudden that many argue that he didn't realize that he'd actually died. And he was just still hanging around trying to put a fresh coat of paint on this thing.
That's wild.
Now, for over 100 years, his spirit has been living in his old quarters, smoking a cigar to pass the time. Apparently, cigar smoking was the favorite pastime of the lighthouse keepers.
Yeah.
Or wickies, as they were nicknamed, because they tended the wick.
Oh, I thought they were the originators of Wikipedia.
If you Google Lighthouse Wiki, you may get two different things.
Yeah, something totally different.
Now, again, Andrew's spirit is usually seen looking out from the top of the tower. Now, there's another one that is maybe a little less friendly, and this is probably the scariest spirit that exists at the St. Augustine Lighthouse. This one is known as the Man.
Creative.
The Man. Yeah. What'd you see up there? I saw the Man.
The Man. Well, were the myth and the legend with him?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
But the Man is usually spotted in the basement of what used to be the lightkeeper's house. Now, it's a shadowy figure. Now, some say shadowy figure, others say shadow figure. So that could mean two different things.
Yeah, that is a big difference in terminology.
Yeah. But it's also known for making the room smell like cigar smoke. But this one tends to fill visitors with this really uneasy feeling, described as the feeling of foreboding. I love that, foreboding. That's not a word you hear too often anymore.
No, but it's a good descriptor, though.
It is, that idea that something bad may happen while I'm right here. It's just that whole idea of maybe I shouldn't be here. Maybe it's a little dangerous for me to be here. But that's what people describe. Now, the most famous encounter with this particular shadow figure happened in 2006 when ghost hunters visited the lighthouse. Now, in this particular episode, a black misty figure is seen approximately 2 stories above where the cast is, where the cast of the show was.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the man is seen peeking over a railing before turning around and vanishing. Now, there is a photo of this, and it plainly shows what appears to be the shadow of a man with hands on the railing, leaning forward and looking down. I mean,
that's wild.
You know what that would look like if you're standing down and you're looking up that spiral staircase and you see somebody looking over the edge. That's exactly what it looks like. Again, it could be easily faked.
Sure.
But if you take the picture at face value, it is pretty creepy because you can plainly see, what appears to be that outline. But who is he? I mean, is he just the Man? He's the Man.
Yeah.
But there are some ideas that maybe it is the ghost of William Russell, who Adam mentioned earlier in the show.
Mm-hmm.
Now, William Russell was the lighthouse keeper during the 1850s, and Russell was known for his protective personality. Now, most people believe that he's only trying to look after his home and his place of work, even if it means scaring off a few visitors. So as I
I'd
said,
be willing to do that.
hang around just to scare some people. Well,
Yeah.
shoot, yeah. Why not? Let's have a little fun.
After you die, what else are you going to do? I mean, you got to have a pastime, right? Got to have a hobby.
Hobbies are important even after death. So
Exactly. It keeps you busy, keeps your mind young. It scares the crap out of tourists. It's all good things.
This is, you're kind of thinking, okay, we've already heard a few stories, Matt. People have seen these things. People are smelling cigar smoke. A guy at the top of the tower. Let's consider something. It is a lighthouse, so it's not. I mean, it's really tall, but I mean, it's not big. I mean,
right.
You think about some of these structures that we've talked about that have 3 or 4 spirits that haunt it. I mean, we're talking about castles and mansions and hospitals and prisons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are large, expansive structures. This is a lighthouse. It's tall, but there's not a lot going on inside. And we've already talked about 3 possible spirits that haunt this place.
Yeah. They each get a bend of the stairs is what they get.
Yeah.
You get this bend, I'll haunt this bend, you haunt that bend.
Yeah. But now we're really going to dig into the meat of the hauntings that happen at the St. Augustine Lighthouse. Now, this one really gets to you because these are the most common experiences that people get when they visit or when they investigate the lighthouse. So, here's a little bit of backstory. Now, the superintendent of lighthouse construction, a one Hezekiah Pitty, he moved from Cape Elizabeth, Maine, with his family to oversee the construction of the new St. Augustine Lighthouse. Of course, an expert in lighthouse construction would live in Maine.
Sure.
Where there's, dozens of lighthouses.
Yeah, of course.
So why not? So you get an expert. Hezekiah lived on site with his wife, Mary, and their children, Mary Adelaide, Eliza, Edward, and Carrie. Now, just as kids do, the Pitty children would turn to the construction site as a playground.
Sure.
I mean, and the workers enjoyed the kids being around, and they're out there playing and go. I mean, what kid wouldn't love a construction site? I mean, you're jumping up and down. There's wood, and you're stacking wood, and you're jumping off of it, and you're making ramps and all, building little forts and all kinds of stuff. I mean,
I remember as a kid, just up the road from our house, there was a house under construction that they were building. We'd go down there and play all the time, ride our bikes around the construction site and, set up the 2x4s and 4x4s and ride your bike over them and all that. So it was fun.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can remember doing it as a kid. We would go and where I grew up playing baseball. They were building some some houses, and I mean, it was always fun. You kind of crept in there and looked around. But by 1873, only the foundation and 42 feet of the 165-foot tower were completed. A railway cart moved supplies from the supply ships that were docked at Salt Run to the building site.
Mm-hmm.
Now, riding the cart down to the water was a favorite game of the Pitty children, as it would be any kid.
Oh, yeah. Any man-child like me. That would be fun.
I would do it. I would totally do it. I mean, I've got essentially a railroad and a cart that will run on this track. This is going to be a blast. I have my own roller coaster.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what these kids did. They had a Victorian era roller coaster, and they would ride the cart to the water and bring it back up to the site and ride it back down again. Now, there was only a wooden board at the end of the rail that stopped the cart from tipping over into the water. But just like kids, it's hard to kind of foresee that this may not have been the safest thing to do.
Yeah.
Now, on July 10th, 1873, the 3 Pitty sisters, Mary, Eliza, and Carrie, along with an unknown girl whose father may have been a worker on the site, were riding in the cart just as they normally did. Now, the wooden board that stopped the cart from going into the water was not in place. What moron decided, I'm going to move this board?
Yeah.
The cart carrying the girls flipped into the water, trapping the girls underneath. Now, Mr. Dan Sessions, who was a young worker, witnessed the event and ran down to the water. But when he reached the cart, using all of his strength, he lifted it up, but the girls had already drowned.
God.
Actually,
that's sad.
Actually, only 3 of the 4 girls drowned, and the one survivor was Carrie, who was the youngest. Now, in the days after the accident, the construction site, as well as the town around it, shut down for the funeral for the 3 girls. Now, following the funeral, the Pitty family returned to Maine to bury their daughters in their hometown. Now, as I mentioned, there was one other girl that died with them, and researchers have not been able to specifically identify this girl. There have been some guesses, and some evidence leads, to a particular person, but nothing that absolutely confirms that they know the identity of the other girl.
Right.
Now, in the time since the accident, strange occurrences have been repeatedly attributed to the spirits of these girls. Now, one story involves a relief lighthouse keeper living in the home in the 1950s who reported hearing footsteps upstairs. Now, he went to investigate, but of course, guess what? No one was there.
Yeah.
Now, the head keeper at the time was a man named James Pippin. Now, he served from 1953 to 1955 and was the last keeper to actually live at the light station. Pippin initially lived in the keeper's house just like all the keepers before him, but he decided to move into the much smaller 1941 Coastal Lookout building, swearing that the big house was haunted and he would not stay another night. So in 1955, the lighthouse lamp was fully automated, and the United States Coast Guard replaced the lighthouse keepers with a position called lamplighter. Now, the local lamplighter had all the responsibilities of a lightkeeper, but he didn't have to live there. So as a result, the keeper's house was rented for a time. Now, a local man who was a leather worker rented the property during the 1960s. Now, he tells the story of waking up one night with a small girl standing by his bed. As he blinked, when he realized that he's looking at a small girl standing by his bed, she disappeared.
Oh, wild.
Mm-hmm.
Dang ghost kids, man, I'm telling you.
I know, and I know that's always a sticky point for you. Is the ghost children.
and just waking up with a 9-year-old standing in your doorway, the human 9-year-old that I live with all the time. If he's in the doorway at 3 a.m., that's creepy enough. But to have something disappear when I blink, holy cow.
Look, I have never been like startled as bad as I have been by lying in bed, and you get kind of that kind of something's going on, and you're starting to kind of come out of it. You know, you're starting to wake up, but you're not awake yet. Your eyes are still closed. And then you kind of gradually open one eye, and you see this shadow in front of you, and you're like, what? And then you hear the, Daddy, ah! You know?
Yeah. Yep. Yep, exactly.
And Amanda and I both, it has happened to the both of us. And you know, the kids just standing there right next to you at the edge of your bed. You're just like, oh my God. So imagine.
Heavy breathing with a blank stare on their face. And you're like, what are you doing? Go to bed.
So imagine this guy who has no kids waking up just like that with a kid at his bed.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I imagine he flipped out.
Oh, I'm sure. He probably wet the bed. I would have wet the bed.
I'd have probably done more than wet it.
Yeah, that's true.
Bad. Now, in 1970, after standing empty for many years, the keeper's house burned under mysterious circumstances, which Adam mentioned earlier in the show. Now, it completely gutted the home, leaving only the shell stone basement and a few charred timbers. Now, St. Johns County purchased the shell of the building with the intention of demolishing it for safety reasons. I mean, there's no reason to keep it.
Right.
But as Adam discussed, the 16 women member of the all-volunteer Junior Service League of St. Augustine stepped in, raised the $1.2 million, and over the next 15 years, restored and renovated the keeper's house. During the renovation, both construction workers and the Junior Service League volunteers reported numerous unexplained incidents in the home. Now, the basement was a particularly active area for ghost and spirit activity. Now, remember, it was the only part of the home that had not completely burned, so it was what was left. So maybe the children like to play in the basement. And even today...
Make it even creepier.
Yeah, even today, they say you can still feel a weird, spooky presence down in that basement.
Jeez.
Now, the girls are typically playful spirits, and they enjoy playing hide and seek sometimes, including on unsuspecting people. Now, one night in the dark lighthouse tower, a single staff member was closing up for the night, and he heard giggling and laughing at the top of the tower. Now,
no thanks.
He started to think that he had left someone on top of the tower. So he went back up and he found that it was empty. Now, as he began to go back down the tower, he heard the same giggles and laughter below him. Now, once he got all the way to the bottom, he once again found that there was no one there. Now, could it be that it was just, the wind whipping through or something and he was not hearing what he thought? Or was it the ghosts of the little girls playing hide and seek?
Yep. Or a red-crested whippoorwill. I don't know.
I'm gonna laugh and giggle up here, and you come find me, and I'm not here, and then I'm gonna laugh and giggle downstairs, and you come find me, and I'm not there. That would be creepy and annoying.
Yeah, it definitely be annoying because you just had to walk up and down that lighthouse now several times to go find something that's not there.
Yeah.
It's creepy enough just to hear giggling in a dark tower, let alone, having to do all that physical activity. No thanks.
So I'm not big on physics or how this would work, and I'm certainly no architect, but I wonder if at 165 feet, if it was straight up, if you could take a staircase straight up 165 feet, is that fewer stairs than one that spirals up? I've got to think. I got to think it's less.
Yeah.
So
shortest distance is a straight line. So
that's what I'm thinking. Somebody's going to go, Matt, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
No,
It'd have to be a ladder.
I'm just posing a question.
Yeah.
That's a lot of steps to go around and around and around just to chase some little kid ghosts that are playing a prank on you.
Yep. And not only are they creepy, but they're jerks.
I'd have to put them in a paranormal timeout or something.
Right.
It's like, ease up. It was funny the first two times. I'm tired now.
Yeah, exactly.
I got COPD from all these cigars I'm smoking. 'Cause that's what you do when you become a lighthouse keeper.
Yeah, you take up smoking cigars to help settle your nerves from all the dang kid ghosts.
They give you a box of matches and a box of cigars. Don't use all the matches because you need to be able to light the torch up there in case it goes out.
Maybe, I thought about this, maybe they all smoke cigars so that if it goes out, they already have lit something to light the wick with.
Yeah,
they what? Just use their cigar.
I thought maybe there's something to this.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't find anything.
Yeah.
Maybe they all smoke cigars, so if the light goes out, they can take the cherry off their cigar and relight it.
Yep. I've known a lot of, I say a lot, but 2 or 3 maybe, of guys who worked at like the city dump.
Yeah.
And all the old dudes smoked cigars, and they would smoke cigars while working to keep the smell down of the city dump. Because they would have that cigar, even if it kind of went to ash and wasn't lit.
It's right there under their nose.
Yeah, right there under their nose. And so it would keep the trash smell and the dump smell down. So maybe it's another occupational thing for lighthouse keepers like it is for those guys that worked at the dump that I knew.
Yeah, and, it's just kind of a look,
Yeah,
it
makes you look cool.
It was part of the uniform,
Oh, there you go.
Big stogie sticking out of the side of your mouth.
There you go. You do look cool with it.
Now, another evening, there was a female guest at the lighthouse, and she was taking the Dark of the Moon tour, which is the name of the tour that you can currently go and take at the lighthouse. And she was standing on the first step of the metal lighthouse staircase. Now, when she took her first step to climb the tower, she found her shoelace had been tied to the staircase.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. Now, whether it was the ghost or one of her buddies playing a trick, we can't say. I can say that I am not so unobservant that I'm not going to be standing on a metal staircase and not notice one of my friends tying my shoe to it.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know what a metal staircase looks like. I mean, it's got the open grate. Otherwise, how are you going to tie a shoelace to it? For one,
exactly.
So I'm fairly confident that's indeed what it looks like. Like fire escape stairs. It's going to look like that. You can see right through them. Who is so sneaky that they could manage to get down there and tie someone's shoe to the stair without them noticing?
Yeah, I'm not that sneaky.
I mean, they've either got ninjas as friends or, this woman is totally oblivious to everything going around. Or it was the ghost of one of the kids. I'm saying that's
I'm going
weird.
with kid ghost.
That's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on another tour, a guide found a group of young women in the basement of the keeper's home. Now, one of the young women had rented an EMF meter to measure the electrical activity caused by the spirits. Now, the young woman holding the meter asked the girls if they wanted to play hide and seek, and the meter spiked. Now, the woman wandered around the basement, searching for all the hiding girls, finally finding meter activity under the spiral staircase leading to the main floor. And then she realized her shoelaces were tied together. No, I'm kidding. That's not part of the story.
She realized it because she fell on her face.
But she got excited because she said she had found them and asked if they wanted to play again. Now, like before, the meter spiked, and once again, the young woman searched the basement for the girls, and after a few minutes, found electrical energy near the children's play table. Now, at around the same time, another set of guests came into the basement, and apparently the energy dispersed.
Yeah, scared the kids out. So go yell at those people who came in. You ruined it.
What are you doing? I'm playing ghost hide and seek down here.
Right.
Can you imagine you walk down and there's some woman down in this basement with this thing lighting up and she's like yelling at you, I'm playing hide and seek.
Yeah. Like, the ghost kids are down here playing hide and screech with me. Leave.
Yeah. But I mean, think about that's pretty cool. I mean, we haven't had a story like that before.
No, I've never heard of that.
I mean, this lady apparently was able to track the movement of the energy to different spots in the basement, indicating that there was, a higher energy level at one point that would go away and then reappear somewhere else. I mean, and do so at the request of a human. I mean, that's something that we really don't see in some of the places that we've researched in the past. Now, all that, tying shoelaces and playing hide and seek sounds really fun, but sometimes the girls like to appear in fully formed apparitions. Now, years and years ago, during the day, a guest was exploring the Maritime hammock trails and came upon a young girl in a Victorian outfit sitting on a bench reading a book. Now, she began to ask the girl a question, and another group came up from the opposite direction. Now, the lady was distracted by this other group and looked away for just a moment, and when she turned back, the little girl was gone. Now, in a similar story, a woman that was on the ghost tour approached another woman to compliment her daughter's behavior while on the tour. Now, confused, this woman said that she did not have a daughter.
That's weird.
And the other woman told her that this little girl had been standing by her side most of the evening, but there were actually no children on the tour that particular night.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
So you had this little thing hanging out next to you all night. I just assumed it was your daughter because it was fully formed.
Right. And I kept wondering where you got that Victorian dress that you put her in.
Right.
I mean, that's great. I mean, we're talking about a lot of really unique, but good experiences that people have had in this lighthouse. And it seems to be pretty common. I mean, it's not something that, if you're lucky and the moon's full and it's, the low tide, then you might smell some cigar smoke. My sister's
cousin's brother had a dog who got scared and went up there one time.
Yeah.
You get these actually have names and, pretty credible witnesses. The stories are detailed.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to be those stories that have so much detail you feel like they've been made up for dramatic effect, but they're not too scant in details that you're like, oh, well, I mean, you could say that about anything. That was probably a frog.
Right.
It's got just enough detail to keep you thinking, yep, something's going on here.
Exactly. And you can take tours of the St. Augustine Lighthouse, and there are ghost tours, as I mentioned, the Dark of the Moon tour, which is more of a ghost friendly type tour. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like a cool place to visit. I know we've got quite a few listeners in Florida, and we might have a few listeners that have already been there. Even if it's not for the ghost tour, I have never personally been to a lighthouse. I
feel like I did once
cool.
when I was a kid, but I can vaguely remember it. I would like to go again now that I'm older.
I've seen a few, but I've never actually, been in one.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of a haunted lighthouse is even more appealing to me.
Oh yeah.
So, if you've been there or if you live close to there and think you might, want to go, you should check it out and you should let us know.
Absolutely.
Take some pictures and send them to us. I'm always amazed when we talk about a place and then months later, we've got a listener that's sending us pictures that they actually went there.
I love it. I love it.
We've had people visit places that we thought, surely to God, we ain't got anybody that would visit this place. And they have.
Right.
They've either been there or they make it a point to let us know that they're going or they've recently been. We've even had a few people say that they've been to some places strictly because they heard the story on our show.
Which was awesome.
Yeah, that's really impressive, guys. So if you live in that area, and you've been or you're planning on going, or you just think, hey, this sounds cool, and I didn't realize it was that cool, and I'm going to go thanks to Adam and Matt talking about it. Yeah, let us know. But I really dug this. These are great. It's not horribly gruesome or terribly scary. It doesn't have a bunch of history that, just turns your stomach. But it's a lot of fun, and it does seem like that there's enough activity to make a trip there worth your while.
Absolutely. So, tell us what you think. You think the lighthouse is haunted, or do you think, there's some other explanations for it? Let us know. You can email us pictures of whatever you got that you took there, or if you think you found a ghost in one of your pictures, please email it to us, or you can post it in our Facebook group, or call us on our voicemail and leave us a quick voicemail about your trip there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the best place to go and post these pictures, not just for Adam and I, but for all the members of the graveyard, is in our Facebook group. And we talk about this just about every show. We've got some fantastic listeners. I mean, I think we're pushing close to 5,000 members in the graveyard.
Just
now?
About, yeah.
There's always something going on. People posting, scary pictures or funny jokes or jokes about scary pictures. Just asking questions and, getting some help. And it's always a safe place where you can come and maybe talk about experiences that you've had. When those questions come up, I'm always just amazed at the number of people that respond with the experiences of their own.
And how nice everybody is.
Yeah.
We got the best group on Facebook. I said it the other day, and I'll say it again. The members of the Graveyard family are some of the best on the internet right now. So, it's a safe space to talk about your hauntings, and we've had people every now and then that try to get a little weird, and other members of the Graveyard come to the defense of the person posting it, so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
It's a safe space to talk about your spooky stuff or your dad jokes or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And you'll get to see posts, by our better halves, Amanda and Ashley too. So,
yep, exactly.
And honestly, without them, we wouldn't be able to do this show.
No, sir, we wouldn't.
Nope. They put up with us being involved in this and away from kids and, fixing dinner and all that other stuff.
Behind every good Graveyard Tales host is an even better woman poking us in the butt to keep us doing this.
That's right. So. Or giving us show ideas or telling us how stupid something we said on the show was.
Yep. Keeping our heads from getting too big. That's right. The good wife stuff.
That's right. But you can also find us on Instagram and Twitter. Just go search Graveyard Tales, and you can visit our website, which is graveyardpodcast.com. You can find links to buy Graveyard Tales merchandise. You can find out a little bit more about Adam and myself, and you can become a patron, which we mentioned at the top of the show, and where you can get bonus audio, bonus episodes. You can get a sticker pack when we've got a ton of different stickers from the show. And for our top tier members, you actually get to see the video of this show being done live with all the outtakes, all the mistakes, Adam and I going back and forth, before we hit the record button, and the video of the Patreon episodes, which, are a little bit more loose and casual and fun. And, we kind of just, let our proverbial hair down a little bit,
Yeah, right. And different topics than we would do on the show.
Yeah. And that's, we don't necessarily talk about haunted stuff all the time. We talk about weird things, funny things, and those kind of things. But, I say this every show. I'm going to say it again. Rate and review us on iTunes. It's the easiest way for more people to find us and join the graveyard. So, for Adam and myself, until next time, we'll save you a seat in the graveyard.
See you soon.
Now, moving forward, 1970. Now, after standing empty for many years, the keeper's house burned under mysterious circumstances, which Adam mentioned earlier in the show. And it completely gutted the home and the shell rock basement. And, you know, well, no, I got to start over. That's the noise now. So when you hear, then you know, okay, this is edit. That's cut. We're going to edit this back. All right.